everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 25 of March Comes In Like a Lion, or technically episode 3 of season 2, and I am loving season 2 so far. Last week, the chaos. The chaos just of Kyoko, of Goto, of all of it. I talked so much last week for that episode, and it was warranted because there was a lot going on. And this series, the character development, just the character development, the evolution of our thoughts on these characters, how they're changing and developing. It's just, it just brings me a lot of joy. It sparks joy, to be sure. But as far as what we've got going on this week, I've got a couple comments before we start. Not the Simi was talking about back in episode 20 with Soya not being, this perfect being, that they're human, they're fallible. And they kind of quoted Aizen Sosuke from Bleach, which, as a massive Bleach fan, you're doing it right. But they said Aizen Sosuke's comment that admiration is the furthest from understanding. And I'm like, if you admire someone, you don't really get to know them. And so that's a big thing. And Soya is put on such a pedestal that everyone seems to almost be at a distance from him. And so I'm hoping that maybe as the series goes on, Rei can talk to him and kind of close that gap, because they seem quite similar. But we'll just see where that goes, right? And then the other comment was from Scrub, actually, which I like a lot. And they talked about how a sealed move is used in multi-day matches, so neither player can use the adjournment to plan their immediate next move. And it's also used in chess, too. So, yeah, Shimada was up against a wall, and he's like, I got to use this move. And he just, now was the time. And it sadly did not pay off. So, hashtag tears. But Shimada, the thing about it is, Alexander Q was talking in their comment about hoping that Shimada was going to be okay. Shimada is physically frail, it seems, but mentally has a lot of fortitude. And I feel like what's interesting is that even if Shimada gets down about himself and sad, the reality is when we see Goto like defending him and the dragon talking about him, it's like people do respect him and believe he's going to bounce back and be fine, even if Shimada himself may not necessarily believe it. And I'm like, So I thought that was really cool. I liked that a lot. I liked these comments quite a bit. But ever since episode 24, I'm like, I want to dive into this one and see what we get. So Kumakura lost against Soya. Soya keeps the Meijin title. And yeah, everything is, Rei's doing great. He's got a support network. He's doing good in school. He's with the Shogisai club, and everything seems to be going all right. So I'm curious to see what we're going to do now and what we're going to get. So we'll just have to wait and see. But before we start, I want to give a really quick shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all so much for your support and dedication to helping me keep the channel up to date and keep on going. And obviously, I'm thankful to anybody that is a YouTube subscriber or a patron, depending on whatever tier they're in. But the ones on the philanthropy tier, they get a special shout out each week in my videos. So I want to give a shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Anime Annie, to Be Happy, to Bryant Reed, to Dana, to Danger Zone, to Danny Donmai, to Destiny Marie, to Damage3245, as well as to No Nickname, Ichu, Eric, Elfreya, Lyndon, Matthew Palfinier, Ghostly Turnip, Fisho, Murphew, Nicholas, Nameless Monster, Shimoyama, Sunspots, Trails, and Translucent Men. Thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. Yep, so I'm super excited. I've got myself a drink poured. No alcohol, no worries. It's too early in the day for that shit. So, yeah, but I'm excited. I hope you all are too. But we're not going to waste any more time. I'm going to get my little thing. Every now and then my screen capture disappears, and I have to restart it, and I don't know why. I think it's just needing an update, or it's being curmudgeon-y, as one would. But yeah, I'm super excited. We're not going to waste any more time, though. We are going to start episode 25 of March Comes In Like a Lion. We're over the halfway point. Isn't that weird? And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. June. Oh, no OP. Uh-oh. Holy shit! Smith is like, you know what they say about big shoes, am I right? Oh. Ah! Ah! Yeah, oh my god. Almost 30 centimeters. We're gonna look up shoe size here in a little bit. Oh, those are Kumakuras. Oh! A bear indeed. Oh, Kumakura. Don't be getting kinky on us. Hidden passion. Oh, he's got a lot of hidden passion. Issa is so innocent. He's such a naive man. Issa's reasons for liking Kumakura might be a little bit different than Smith's. An airplane shooting towards the sky! Oh my god! Shut up, you two! Ah! Oh shit! You two are goons! Morons! He is a big-ass man. You boys, are you really? Oh, he's in judo. Oh, shit. All right. Our precious 50-minute lunch break is over because we were having daydreams about the hot shogi player at the... Here's the intro. That was a good opening with those two. I swear Smith and Issa could just jump ship into a shogi BL anytime they want to. The fact of Kumakura being this big-ass man that's also knows judo... And then, of course, he would be like his pride at stake when he goes up against the very timid-looking little snow devil that is Soya. I love it. I love it. I like that just goes to show, like, all the different types of people in shogi, because it's not just necessarily about your physique. Shogi is a mental activity. It's a mental sport. So... obviously, you need to take care of yourself so you don't have literal stomach ulcers in the middle of your match. But your physical body is not necessary to be in shape. It's your mind that has to be. Kumakura! I can see why people totally crush on him. I could get that. I can get it. I can get into it. Mm-hmm. Aww. So now that Smith and Issa are off to get lunch and go, you know, simp over Kumakura some more, what are we gonna get? How are we gonna do? Ooh. Oh, Nikaido and him eating lunch. Nikaido family 30-item blend bento box. Oh my god. Oh, we're going to talk about this in the discussion. 26 players. Oh, 26 years old and younger. Interesting. So it's age. And 5th Dan and below. Okay. Oh, 42 people. Healthy but high class. Oh, you've got to win 3 times. Okay, so 3 matches before the finals. Fair enough. Aww. I need to hang in there. What if Nikaido doesn't make it to the finals? Oh, wow. This could be interesting. Project X top runner, what? Project X! Oh my god! Oh my god. You're getting too deep in that future outlook of yours. Oh my god. Are you crying? I like that the head shift goes with that. Oh, the head turns. You gotta beat me too, okay? Oh my god! This charming old man. Oh, it's Nikaido facing him. Oh my god, Arimoto. Yeah! You're the one that brought it on to Kaido. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Oh, I don't think that's what he's thinking. No. Where's that coming from? Ah! He's like, I'm a ball of neuroticness. $26 is still pretty high. There's a lot of older players with that. I don't think that's the case at all. No! Oh. Oh. What do you look over there for? Uh! Uh! Really? The ninny! Oh no, they all think Nikaido's telling the truth. Who are you? Because we're best friends. I'm the worst. Oh, and they're all looking at him like, dude. A fragile teenager. It's funnier this way. This old man's savage. This was always a den for demons. You'll only find the strong-willed here, as arrogant as a fiery soul. Ooh, nice. Nice. Oh, yeah. Aww. Aww. I need new ideas, kids. A summer confection, you say? Ah, yeah, you gotta compliment the cold green tea. Aw. Pet me a little bit. Oh. Stick to the basics, yes. A little novelty. Momo. A duck. A duck, she says. That would be adorable. Aww. But what else? Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. That might not work. What if we sunk it? Inside the block. That doesn't really fit the theme. Yeah, that doesn't fit the theme. You don't... Yeah, you don't want to drown the duck. That's weird. Why aren't you asking HINA? Aw, Momo's so precious. A sandal? Aw. 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 Our poor strawberry blonde. A sandal, she says. A child prodigy! Aww. Akari's like, you're getting ahead of yourself. Are we gonna be okay? What about Hina's idea? He didn't ask her, though. Why are you quiet, Hina? It's not very convincing. Aw. It's weird to see Akari with her hair down. Oh, what if she doesn't put it out? What if she doesn't put it out? Don't light the house on fire, girl. So quiet. Ooh. Oh, and then her with her hair up makes her look so much older. Ooh. Ooh, I don't like Hina not being in a good mood. That's not good. Ladybug Bush, part 1. Huh? Aw. Aw. I don't like egg salad at all, but I don't like hard-boiled eggs. All the cats. Aw. Aw. Just don't let her know you didn't get them, because then she'll think she's being ignored. It seems like she thinks she's being ignored. Oh, so it's not as long of matches. I would eat outside too, if it was nice. Ah. And coffee. Oh. Oh. A ladybug bush. Oh. Okay. Oh. Oh, they make his eyes bigger to make him look younger there. Oh. He's so precious. Look at that. Oh. I don't think I've actually seen ladybug eggs before. Mm. Oh. What? Oh. Oh, that's mean. Oh. Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh. Of being alone. Oh. Mm. So that was normal. Oh. Damn. I'm glad he's not in that place now because that's so sad. So that I'd avoid the attacks, yeah. And I wouldn't be noticeable. Oh. They pretend to be absorbed in it. Oh. 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 Like he literally got so good because... Oh, yeah, we don't really get to know much about Koda's wife. Yeah, wow. Kyoko looks a lot like her. Oh. Oh, girl. Cinderella, Cinderella, night and day, a Cinderella. Oh. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Uh, but y'all didn't want to do it. But y'all were being bitches. Oh. Oh, sweetheart. And if I was absorbed in that, I wouldn't think about anything else. Oh my God. Oh. He's like Rose clinging to the door, except it's a shogi board. Oh. Oh. Wow, 50 years worth of official matches. Wow. Oh. Damn. Oh. Wow, okay. And keep playing. Oh. And the storm. Oh. Oh, get you that hamburger steak. Damn. Well, we had to bring back the angst just a bit, right? We had to bring back the angst just a bit. Definitely. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel for Ray, and it's like, even when you can feel better about the circumstance that he's in now, there is a part of you that just feels so crushed for what he has to go through. You know, despite being in a better place, what he's had to go through to get there is just, it's so sad. Damn. I feel for Ray so much. Ugh. Ugh. I don't think we have a end credit scene, and I'll have to look up the end card. The puppet Ray is so sad. Even if he gets to fly away. Damn. Oh, good. There is an end credit. Oh, he did go get them. Where's HINA? Oh. Is something happening at school maybe with her? Oh. Oh. Who bullied her? Who bullied her? Who bullied her? They are going to have to pay for bullying HINA. Don't you dare. Oh. Oh. Oh, hell no. Bitch, if you are bullying HINA, I'm going to go full Karen on your ass. And I got the haircut now to do it. Oh, no. So I was wondering why why Hina was acting like really, really standoffish and shy. And at first I thought it was because the grandpa was just listening to Momo and not listening to Hina's suggestions. I was like, well, maybe she feels like the grandpa doesn't, think that her opinions are valid, even though she came up with this idea that's doing really well. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. And then when she came home from school and her shoe's gone, I'm like, okay, she's being bullied at school. That's what this is. So of course she is. So what I hope comes out of this is that Ray, who went on a tangent about being bullied himself this episode, what I hope comes out of it, because we're building Ray's character up, we're showing how he's growing and developing as a person. Next step is, we've seen how Ray has helped Shimada when he was down. I need Ray to help Hina. And Ray help Hina feel better about herself, because he knows what it feels like to be bullied. He knows what it feels like to be isolated. And I want him to kind of be able to help Hina, or at least be there to support her, right? Even if he can't fix the problem or doesn't know what to say, I want Ray to be there to be a support for Hina and maybe be someone she can relate to. So, I really want to watch episode 26 now. Damn it! This series is so good and it's addicting. Yeah, that's probably gonna happen before I get to the comments for next episode. So sorry about that. So let's talk about this episode. June and the Ladybug Bush part 1, which we still have other parts to go to as well. But yeah, so Issa and Smith are dorks. They're such a bunch of dorks. They are supposed to be the adults in the room, but they're acting like kids. They're acting like Nikaido and Ray here with this man's enormous shoes. Here's the thing. I looked up how big this man's feet are. I don't think his feet are enormous. I think y'all just have small feet, because I was like, what's going on? But Kumakura, in comparison to them, has massive feet, and they're just staring at them. And I love Smith is like, oh, you know what they say about men with big feet, they have trouble finding shoes. I think Smith is way more coy and kind of in on the joke and in on the situation. Issa's just a damn little Labrador. He's just adorable and innocent as can be, right? And he's like, do you want to check their Kumakuras? I'm like, oh my gosh, what a little shoulder devil, right? So then they're putting on his shoes. I'm like, I wouldn't put on somebody else's shoes. That's kind of gross. If you get some foot fungus in there, no thank you. No. Okay, but they said 29.5 centimeters, almost 30 centimeters. I looked up how big that is in men's shoe size. 30 centimeters is a size 12 or a size 13 in US. So size 13 is pretty big, I guess. My brother and my father wear like a size 11 or 12. So their feet are like 29.2, 29.8 centimeters. So, and I don't feel like their feet are huge. My one friend, her dad is like 6'8". He's really, really tall, and he wears like a size 19. His feet are like 40 centimeters. They're insane. I was like, oh, so that's when I think of enormous giant feet, I think of like size 16 and up. I think that like the freakishly huge feet. Whereas size 13 is still pretty big. Size 12, size 13, that's still pretty big in comparison. My feet are like 26 centimeters. So I have pretty big feet for a girl, but that's interesting. So yeah, but they're just like almost 30 centimeters. What? They're like, that's how I kicked a big hole in the wall. Beyond human. So Kumakura being beyond human with his giant ass feet, and he's just a big ass man. Yeah. And he's like that cool stone-faced Kumakura for him to kick in the wall and having all that passion. I love that anytime they show Kumakura, there's like Mount Fuji behind him. And he's like, he had so much hidden passion beneath that calm exterior. Smith was like, yes, they're just sitting here simping for Kumakura, which is hilarious to me. I think it's so funny. And they're trying on his shoes and just being a bunch of goofballs. And then Kumakura's like, can I have my shoes back? Sorry to interrupt your good time. He's also really tall because I feel like Smith is pretty tall in his own right, and Kumakura just like towers over him. And when Smith's like, what a trunk, I was like, do I know a lot of heterosexual men that talk about how massive a man's trunk is? I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but they basically say he's a 5th Dan in judo as well, and it was invited to join a mixed martial arts organization. And they're like, oh no, our lunch break's halfway over. We gotta go get something to eat now. We've wasted it all simping over this man. It's like, so meanwhile, let's get up here. I want to make note, there is something I wanted to kind of talk about, and that is going to be with Kumakura, for example. We're going to talk about him being also a 5th Dan in judo. We're going to come back to that. We're going to put that on the board, and we're going to come back to it in a little bit. So then we cut to another precious set of boys, which is Nikaido and Rei. I like the shrimp tempura with the rice. Shrimp tempura is so good. It's so good. I'm not a big person of miso soup. Miso soup's okay. I don't like tofu. So I think that's probably why I'm not a big tofu person. But everybody's eating curry. Everybody's eating their own lunch. We have 2 tables. They got the little coffee pots there. We got 2 sets of guys, a TV. It's like everybody's getting ready for their shogi matches. And Rei's come to support Nikaido. And speaking of Nikaido, he has the Nikaido family special 30-item bland, healthy Matsubana. So again, we have the bland foods because he can't have anything that upsets his stomach. So he's got all these little, but it's like a bento box with all of these extra pieces. So it's like, it says 30 item, but there's like 18 different pieces there. But they're all like right there. Nikaido having the coffee cup with his name on it in the single font. You know someone's bougie when they have a coffee cup with just a single word in the most bland font ever. Bouginess. Bougie nonsense. That is Nikaido. That bento box looks amazing though. I would gobble that shit up. Meanwhile, like he has crawfish in there and like salmon and like the strawberries and all this. It's like, So they establish about the newcomer tournament, which is a little bit more, there's 42 people in the newcomer tourney. 42. They've got to win 3 matches to get to the final, which is where they supposedly face each other. And you have to be 26 years or younger. For newcomer, 26 is pretty old. I feel like 26 years old is, that's still like a pretty wide margin. When I was thinking of newcomers, I was thinking like 21 and younger because Nikaido and Rei are both like 17 or 18. So I was like, oh, 21 and younger. They're newcomers. 26, you could have been playing for like 10 years already if you're 26 years old. You could have been playing for the last 10 years. But then they say the next part where they're like, oh, you also have to, like, as like he has a little, I like that he has a bib that has a Nikaido in on it. You have to be 5th Dan and below. Okay. And below. So there is a stipulation there that you have to be under 26. So you can't be an 80. Well, what if my grandpa just gets into shogi like yesterday and decides he wants to be in the tournament? Seems a little bit ageist, if you ask me. No, I get it though. But it does kind of limit it. I feel like there's a little bit of ageism there by saying that newcomers are younger players when that's not always the case. But I guess they're basically like, should have gotten to shogi when you were younger, old man, and you would have gotten to be in the tournament. But then you have to be 5th Dan and below. So theoretically, you could have been playing for the last 10 years since you were like 16, but you've not been doing very well if you're not 5th Dan in 10 years. So there's that. But I think that's interesting. There's a lot of head tilting in this conversation. So 42 players. I like that Nikaido has this massive sampling bento box and Rei just has his little tempura noodles, his udon. And then as they're talking back and forth, Rei's like, well, you're always eating healthy but high class. He's bougie, Rei, don't you know? He's like, you should either eat or talk. I like Rei's little dish, though. The udon noodles fit him. So, yep. So, they got to win 3 matches in a row to make it to the final so they can play each other. That seems simple enough, right? And then Nikaido, he's like, well, the legend begins. I love that he just calls it their legend begins. He's like, you need to hang in there no matter what so we can battle each other in an official game. And Nikaido's like, don't doubt yourself. Don't lose your confidence. Be on top of things, Rei. And Rei kind of brings up a good point. He's like, why are you worried about me? He's like, shouldn't you also be worried? He's like, I need to hang in there. He's like, it sounds like you're pretty confident about getting into those finals. I like that Ray's kind of like, if you're overconfident and thinking too much, as we've seen with Shimada, if you get too far into the future and get thinking too far ahead, you're going to lose track of the present. And you might not end up in the finals with me. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah. What if Nikaido doesn't make it to the final? What if Ray does, but Nikaido doesn't? That would be insane. So I don't want that to happen, but he's like, where's your confidence even come from? And Nikaido's like, listen, whatever you do, I like Nikaido ignores Ray's questioning. He's like, just make it to the finals. Whatever you do. Even his little thermos has his name on it. He's like, this is where our legend begins. And then he's like, Project X top runner. And he's like, Maijin, Nikaido's challenge. The rivals are best friends. He's like, after I become a shoji master, we're going to be on this reality show. I'm like, I love that he has it all planned out, like what it's going to look like. He's like, after I become a master, he's like, I'll get featured on a program like Project X. I love him. I do the same thing that Nikaido does. I hug my pillow, where Nikaido and I also have kind of the same hair now, where I hug my pillow when I sit down. And they're like, I'll get featured on Project X. And then when they do our like matches in the past, we'll be in black, white freeze frames. Oh my God. And we'll have a narrator. It'll be great. Oh my God. He's like, got it all planned out. He's like, it'll have narration just like that. He's like, you're getting way too deep into this future outlook of yours. So then he's like, why are you crying? And so then the old man's like, the newcomer tournament. He's like, well, that brings back a lot of memories. This old man, Arimoto, he's like, but kid, you should indulge in that chatter after you beat this old man. He's so sweet. He's like, I hate to interrupt your fun, kids, but you've got a match against me in an hour. And I'm like, ah! He's so funny. I was wondering what he was doing there. I thought for a second it was the older man from the last episode, but no. He's like, a pie in the sky is tasty, but it won't fill you up. So don't get too ahead of yourselves. And they're both like, well, yes, I'm looking forward to our game of the day. Sorry, we're not being rude. Yep, sorry. And he's like, what's your problem, Kiriyama? He got mad at us because of you. From the gentle Arimoto Ninth Dawn. And Ray's like, what did I do? He's like, this was totally your fault. I like that Ray's like, talking loudly about winning a title and becoming a Maijin and going on NHK's top runner. Ray's like, ugh, exhausting. He's like, you're always going at it with that, oh, I'm not greedy air. Acting as if you're watching with cool detachment as a spectator. He's like, but we all know different. But I know what's up. I love it. He's like, about this newcomer king. You're like, well, if I play properly, I can win it without much hassle. So basically, Nikaido is asking Ray to take it seriously and don't underestimate his opponents, is what he's asking. And he says, he basically calls out Ray, saying that Ray is acting cool and giving this air of calm. When we, the audience, know Ray is anything but calm under the surface. Ray is like a neurotic mess. And that's why he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, I can win. He's like, am I right? And Ray's like, excuse me? He's like, no. He's like, where's this even coming from? He said, I love it. He's like, what? Whenever Ray tilts his head, like, what? He's just like, do you have any idea how stressed I am on a daily basis? That was so real. And he's like, well, I don't need to make a fuss about the newcomer king because of course I'll win it. In fact, regarding the age restriction, I'm totally confident. But if I had to worry about anything, I think I'm getting close to ninth Dan. So if I won't win soon, I'll miss my chance. Well, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. There are plenty of other title championships. I could always work hard for those. That's more or less what you're thinking deep in your heart, isn't it? And Nikaido, I will say, Nikaido is assuming a lot about Ray when we, the audience, know Ray is not all about that. But I think he does kind of get to a point about Ray where it is true that Ray doesn't always see urgency in his battles. And I think that's one thing that Nikaido's getting at. He's like, you always think you're going to have time to go do other things. Whereas we know Shimada and Nikaido, because of their physical health conditions, they both fully realize they don't have all day. There may not be other chances for other titles. So they have to kind of take advantage of it now. Whereas Nikaido's calling Ray out, being like, well, you just think if I'm not going to do good at this tournament, I'll just win next time. He's like, well, there might not be a next time. So you should appreciate that more. And I like that Ray is like, of course I don't think that. He's like, when do you come up with these ridiculous ideas? And he's like, and then he eats his food, right? And he's like, sheesh, I would never. I would. And then he looks over. And he looks over again, and then he blushes. He's like, wait, maybe I do think that. I love him just like blushing, like, maybe I do think that sometimes. How did he know? And then the others that are eating over there, he's like, really? He didn't realize it? He didn't realize he's like that sometimes? How he pisses me off. And then the other guy that we've seen before, he's like, it's adorable, damn it. And the other guy's like, that's what I can't stand about middle school child prodigies going professional. They're so naive. Ticks me off, that idiot. And then the other guy's like, look at him blushing, the ninny. But God help me, that's really cute. I love that all of these older men, like the younger guy is just like, what a brat. Meh, meh, meh. But the older men are like, that's kind of adorable that you, young love, you both don't realize. I'm like, ah. And then the Kaido, he's like, relax, Kiriyama. He's like, no matter how puffed up you get with success and pretend to be a fake herbivore shogi player, I won't abandon you over something like that. I like that Nikaido's like, even though you try to pass yourself off as this harmless little dove, but I know you're really, really hardcore, I won't ever be dissuaded. I'll still support you because we're best friends and you're my rival. I'm the only one who understands you. Yep. Because we're best friends. And Ray's like, oh gosh, she's like, I'm so embarrassed. I love Nikaido's like, just come into my bosom. We're besties. And Ray's like, it's too embarrassing. I'm the worst. So cute. I love that all the old men are like smiling like young friendship. Isn't that cute? And Nikaido's like, well, wait, we're not done talking yet. And Ray's like, Ray is dropping everything. Ray's just like, friendship, best friends. So cute. I love the old man being like, he's so shaken. A fragile teenager. But just leave him be. It's funnier this way. Because I know he's going to be all right. He's like, good grief, Kiriyama, you don't have to worry. This was always a den for demons. You'll only find the strong-willed here, as arrogant as a fiery soul. I really love the old man, Arimoto, who basically points out there that he's like, don't worry, Ray. He's like, we are all similar in regards to how we view shogi. They all have these different personalities, but again, it's a den of demons. And we're all kind of on the same playing field. That's kind of one thing that's different from Ray's high school experience, is that in high school, he felt very isolated because he wasn't like the other students. But here, there is a sense of community in shogi because even though they all come from different walks of life and ages, they all share a commonality with one another that connects them. And Ray just didn't find that during his elementary school days and up until recently in high school. So, but I love that. Only the strong-willed are there, so don't be ashamed. Meanwhile, we go back to the grandpa getting ideas for the summer confectionery that they want, and they're thinking of what to do. And meanwhile, Hina's over there sketching, looking a little bit. She doesn't look quite nervous there. She just looks kind of down in the dumps. I like the agar. They talk about, what is agar? Is it like a type of sugar? Okay, yeah, it's a jelly-like substance consisting of polysaccharides derived from cell walls of some species of red algae or tengusa, like tengula. It's seaweed, agar, seaweed. It's just like a glob of gelatin-like substance made from red algae. Cool. It's a vegetarian substitute for gelatin. Neat. So yeah, I mean it's super pretty. I personally am not like a hard jelly fan. I know a lot of people like in Great British Bake Show, they have like the jelly cakes with like the jelly flower art. They're beautiful to look at, but I don't think I'd ever want to eat one. I'd be like, no, thank you. They're super cute, but I just want to look. I don't think I would want to eat it. But they're trying to figure out what to use it. And I really liked Momo's idea of the duck. That was really cute. But I do agree with Akari that the souvenir of the duck would slide off of the jelly, and if you submerge it, it does look like the duck is drowning, and it's kind of creepy. I don't know. I think I would have done like the fish or the anemone, but they're trying to find something new. And then I wanted to see when Akari looked over to see what she was drawing. I like that Momo suggested the sandal, which is kind of creepy in its own right, a little bit more disturbing. Of course, the grandpa spinning Momo around and calling her a prodigy is hilarious. And Akari's like, what are we going to do with you, grandpa? So then she looks over to Hina. And she's like, what are you doing, Hina? And Hina is just drawing like shells, shapes, a crab. She's just doodling. She's not really coming up with any ideas. Something's off. And I feel bad for Hina. That she just kind of, she says everything is fine. But you know, she just kind of smiles. There is a similarity between Hina and Rei in this episode, and the idea of both Rei and Hina kind of bottling their sadness and not communicating. Yeah, because if you're around someone long enough, and your family with them especially, you can kind of sense when they're not feeling good or when something's wrong. Like if I'm having a bad day and I'm around my friend, my best friend will be like, is something wrong? And I'm like, yeah, I don't feel good. And they're like, oh, I can tell. You can just tell from body language. You can tell from quiet. And Hina is a very expressive, emotive person. So when she's not being that way, it's very noticeable. And I'm glad that this show is a little bit nicer than other shows I've watched, because whenever Akari was like, well, mind the fire, I was like, are they going to burn down the house? And then I was like, oh, wait, it's not that kind of show. I was like, I was genuinely a little worried there that she was going to forget about it. But again, we see Hina kind of in the tub, kind of like sort of doing like what Rei did and kind of like submerging herself. Also, we can see Akari with long hair, and she's really, really pretty. But Akari seems to be like, what is wrong with Hina? We don't know for sure. I do feel bad for Hina. I feel like this is about the time Hina going through puberty. She's between, what, the ages of 12 and 14? Yeah, this is about the time that girls can get kind of mean, kind of rude. Boys can too, as we see from Rei's past. But girls can be snide, and girls are manipulative at that age. They find ways to just stick a knife in you and just... Here's the thing. The boys in Rei's past that were, like, getting onto him and teasing him, they threw cans with rocks in them, which made them heavier and make them hit you harder. And that sucks. And that's bad. And there's more physical violence with boys going through puberty, typically, from my experience. But from my experience, girls going through puberty are maybe less physically violent, but manipulative in terms of mentally and psychologically damaging. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. The teenage boys that I grew up with, they would do like the cans with rocks in it, and they would be like throw punches and get into fist fights and just hormones and everything going through them like crazy. But the girls I grew up with, they were just like savage. They would just like, they could say something and slice your throat with it and be like worse than any, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. No, girls in middle school could find a way to make those words hurt you. And I feel like Hina's at that very vulnerable age of middle school, 12 to 14, where you're starting to develop and hormones are going and girls are getting snide and can get catty. And I'm not surprised she's getting bullied because she's pretty and nice. And a lot of girls, if they get jealous at that age, they always attack the girls that are pretty and nice. Or vice versa. So it's like, I'm so frustrated for her because she's so cute. She doesn't need that. And I wonder if Akari can, I feel like in some part, Akari can pass on wisdom to her and be like, hey, I went through the same thing when I was in school. It'll be okay. But on the other end, I also think that Hina also needs Rei to talk to her, because it's cool to get from your sibling advice, but sometimes you also need it from like a secondary source. You need it from somebody that's not family to kind of reassure, because sometimes when you're a teenager, you're like, well, you're just saying that because we're family. So if she hears it from Rei, I think it will help out too. Also, I believe when she was opening up the door, she called out Rei's name first, which means she wants to talk to Rei. The other thing that could happen is it might be that she, one, could have asked that boy out finally and got rejected, which could be a thing. Or she could have been asking him out and the other girls found out about it and bullied her because she asked him out. So we don't know the full story. We'll have to wait till next week, but I don't think I'm going to be able to wait. So the Fujimori Bakery, he gets donuts on the way home from work in the evenings like Hina asked him to, which was super nice. And then he gets this egg salad sandwich. I don't like egg salad at all. I hate egg salad. I don't like mayonnaise. I don't like hard-boiled eggs. So I'm like, not anything involving, and I don't like cream cheese unless it's like cream cheese frosting for like a carrot cake. Other than that, I don't really care for anything with that. So egg salad just sounds disgusting. I also love that all these cats are like all up on Hina, all up on Akari, I mean, and they're just like just all bowing down to her regalness. But yeah, so Rei, as he's walking to a shogi match, he's talking about how the matches, he's basically saying that, okay, he's like, maybe I should have gotten donuts too, like Hina recommended. He said, I could have had a snack. I could have had them as a snack during the match. So he points out that as he's walking towards his shogi match, that in today's open tournament, the amount of time the players have is short. So it's like a big tournament, so they just do quick matches. And his opponent is known for quick matches. So he's like, I'll just eat outside here and get ready. And I do that so much too. When I'm at work and stuff, if it's nice outside, I will totally eat outside on like the park bench or the table or something like that. So he's played today's opponent before, so he knows what he's up against. And he's thinking about what system he's going to use to battle him. And that's when he notices the ladybug bush. I didn't know ladybugs put their eggs on these bushes, which is super cool. But then we get the flashback of Rei as a kid. Rei as a child is the most adorable thing I've ever seen. His eyes are so big. They make him look younger by making his eyes freaking huge. And it's so precious. He's so cute. And he wasn't bothering anybody. That's the problem. Usually bullies, they just pick on people that are minding their own business because they're jealous of them. And so, yeah, he gets somebody throwing the cans at him, which it's good that they didn't hit him, you know, because if they'd hit him, that would have hurt. But, yeah, he looks there and then he like hears a noise and there's cans flying towards him, which is really sad. And these boys are trying to beat him up. So then we get reminded about his parents' funeral and the dad's sister and his cousin, which we've not seen any of these people, so I don't know if we'll ever see the cousin or the aunt ever again, but they did not seem concerned about Rei. And so Rei's like, and so then he's like, I became part of a shogi playing family in Tokyo. He's like, my school in Nagano was small and I was alone. Which was bad enough, right? If you're alone in a small school, that's bad enough. But then if you go to a big school like Tokyo, it's even worse. He's like, I truly learned the meaning of being alone in my huge new school. It's bad enough being alone in a small place. Being alone in a big place is even worse. And he couldn't find any friends. And like they wrote on the board Kiriyama the shogi robot, which is a pretty stereotypical common, especially because Rei's quiet and he's very like studious. They would call him a robot, which is sad. And him having to erase the board with his name on it. And then him reading alone the shogi book on the stairwell. I'm glad that we have the contrast now to show Rei having made friends with the science club and joining them and having friends in the Kaido and Smith and Issa. I'm glad that as Rei's getting older, he's finding his people. And that's what I coach a forensics team, which is a speech team. And the people that are on that team are often, who wants to speak in public for fun? So we are a bunch of dorks. And I was kind of dorky in school too. But we tell the students on the team, we're like, hey, you're in a community of people that are kind of similar to you. We don't all have the same personalities or beliefs or things like that, but we all find a common ground under public speaking. And that's what makes us come together as a group. It makes us a team, and it makes us kind of bond over something as simple as that. And we tell students, we're like, really, when you get out of high school, which get through high school, get through it. It can suck. It can be great. Whatever the circumstance is, get out of it and you'll find your people. And then you go to college. Like, college is great because you find your people. You find the people that you're connected to. In Ray's case, it's not college, but it's shogi that's brought him to find his people, the people that he connects with, that he gets along with. He's not so much a total outsider like he is in the rest of the world within the shogi community. He's still kind of an outsider and still a little bit ostracized because he's a prodigy, but it's different, right? And Ray talking about how he wants to make himself unnoticeable, so the direct attacks on me aren't something that happens. So Ray's solution was to basically be seen but not noticed. He didn't want to stand out at all, because if you stand out, you're more prone to getting bullied. And I feel like HINA was starting to kind of do that at home. She didn't want to stand out, and it was starting to bleed into that. He's like, I used to think that thing and I acted indifferent. And I just pretended to read. I pretended to be absorbed. But in reality, Ray wanted to be included. But he wasn't able to because he didn't want to be bullied. It's like that. It's that desire. It's that desire for inclusion, but aversion to, but I guess harassment is not the word I want to use, but he would desires to be included, but he also doesn't want to be harassed. So this is like his compromise. He's like, then I just won't be noticed, and it's fine. I'll leave the room. I'll go out and be on my own for lunch. And he's like, I'm used to it anyway. I hid in the bushes of the school courtyard. He's like, and when people around me would be playing, but he's like, I was used to being alone from the start. So Ray's never been used to having friends around him or having other people to be with. And what he would do in his spare time, because he didn't have friends, was just practice shogi. Shogi was the only thing. Shogi was his only escape from that loneliness. And I was going to bring that up here with Kumakura. That's why I wanted to bring it up here, is that when we look at, Ray is considered to be a prodigy. And I would say Ray, we've talked about this in previous episodes, he has a lot of natural ability. I don't know necessarily if he's a prodigy or if it's just he's worked his ass off because he's had nothing else to go off of. So it's like, it's one of those things, like if you watch some basketball anime or, some characters, they've just played basketball their whole lives because that's all they had. And so, of course, if you play something over and over and over again, and you keep working at it, you're going to get better, especially a mental game like shogi versus a physical one like basketball. So, of course, Ray has become really good at shogi. That's all he's had going for him. He's practiced his ass off for it, right? And I feel like maybe that goes underappreciated, that people don't quite realize all the work that Ray's put into it. Yeah, if you devote your life to something, you're probably going to be good at it. That's just kind of how it goes. Whereas Kumakura, I'm not saying that Kumakura lost because he's also good at judo. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that the characters you have that dedicate themselves to nothing but shogi, like Soya and Ray, are set up to be like, well, of course they won, versus other people like Kumakura who maybe, but I don't want to say that because he divides his skills he lost, because I don't think that's the case. And Shimada lost, and he's devoted himself to shogi too. So my basic point was that some people, if you try to spread the butter too thin and you try to be good at this and good at that and good at that, then it's not going to work. You can't be a jack of all you can be a jack of all trades but a master of none in that scenario. Whereas, of course, Ray's gotten good because that's all he's been doing. So we do get a little bit about Koda's wife. about his adoptive mom, that she was kind. She looks a lot like Kyoko, but she always looked kind of worried. She always looked kind of worried at him, like, what do I do with you? Like, why won't you be a kid? Why are you being different? And it's like she didn't know what to do with him. She was like, I don't know exactly what to say to you. And he's like, I did everything I could to please her. But she's like, I wish you'd just be a kid. So it's like the mom, you know, wanted Ray to be a kid. But for Ray, being a kid means being bullied and ignored. So he doesn't want to do that. So instead, he wants to help the mom, which seems reasonable, except with Kyoko and Ayumu, they both hate him for it. And it's like Ray can't win. He can't. And this is, again, what gets me is that Kyoko, she's like, wash the rice. She's like, oh, why don't you have Ray do it? He's better than I am, isn't he? Which just sounds like she was being lazy. She just didn't want to do it. And so she's like, well, Ray's better than me. Why don't you have him do it? And then Ayumu was like, clean the bathtub. He's like, well, you should make Ray do it. You're always saying he's such a good boy. I'm like, you two, Ayumu and Kyoko, are little spoiled brats. They are the evil step-siblings in Cinderella and they try to do this like passive-aggressive bullshit where they're just like, well, why don't you make him do it? You clearly like him better than us. I'm like, what the fuck? And then they're like, well, Ray gets all the attention. I'm like, maybe if you all weren't little spoiled brats and did some chores and tried to help Ray out, this wouldn't happen. I'm just like, chop chop. If I had been the mom, and a little bit's on the mom too, because if I had been the mom, I'd been like, Ayumu, shut the game on pause, put it on pause or shut it down, and go do some work. Like, the fact that they spoil, that's the worst part of it. They spoil Kyoko and Ayumu, and then Ray volunteers to do the work, and then they praise Ray for it, and then Ayumu and Kyoko get mad at Ray because he's getting praised, but they're getting praised because you two are spoiled brats that don't want to do any work. So what did you think was going to happen? Like, what? Spoiled. So yeah, so Ray ends up cleaning the tub, and he's like, the more I helped around the house, the more that the mom got worried. And again, I feel like the mom, she's like, the more troubled she looked. I feel like the mom wants Ray to get along with Kyoko and Ayumu, but it's kind of part of the mom's responsibility too. She should have stepped up and made her kids do some damn chores, but she didn't do it. Instead, she, it's almost as if it's just as bad that she didn't push her kids to do the work with Ray, and they could have bonded together. They could have cleaned the tub together. They could have done all this together and had like a sibling bonding moment. But because she got Ray to do it, it makes Ray look like a suck up, and then they get mad, but they ain't doing jack shit. So it's like, it's a lose-lose situation. And I'm like, Mom, step up and make them do it with him. And then they're like, well, let's have a good game. I wondered if this was going to affect his playing style throughout all of it, but it ends up not. Him remembering this doesn't affect the play style. So then they have the dog. I like that Ayumu has a dog. He's like, could you quit trying to be so obvious about scoring points? And I'm like, Ayumu, you were told to go do something, and you were too busy playing your video game, and so you told Ray to do it, and now you're mad because Ray did what you told him to do? I'm sorry, what? Just, what a brat. Yeah, and then he's like, she's our mom. I'm like, but you didn't do the work. And Ray's like, what was I supposed to do? And then she's like, oh, I hate him. He's creepy. I'm like, well, I feel so bad for Ray, because like Ray's just trying to live there and not go to an orphanage. And you two are spoiled brats that can't be nice. Like, I don't feel sorry for them. I'm like, you guys were just brats. Be nicer. Why does this have to be Ray's responsibility to make you all see the light? He's like, I would get stressed wondering if the rest of my life was going to be like this. Like, I don't blame him for leaving, because he's like, why is this my fault? He's like, I couldn't even breathe. So instead, I try to become completely absorbed in shogi to take my mind off of things, so I wouldn't have to think about anything else. And for the longest time, it felt like I was bobbing at sea and I couldn't reach the bottom. I was just floating. It's such a sad situation that he's in because he needs Shogi to gain his independence. He needs Shogi to distract him from the fact that he doesn't have friends and he's lonely. But then and to get away from these two spoiled brat children that need to own up that they need to do work too. And then instead what ends up happening is it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. He's like, well, if I don't play Shogi, I'm going to be miserable. But if I do, they hate me for that too. And it's like, I feel so bad for Ray. I'm like, you should not feel bad, sir, just because you were stuck with a bunch of mofos. Ugh. He's like, I would solve every last problem and obsess over it until I broke out into a fever. And then I moved on to the untouched Shogi game records in my father's study, 50 years worth of official matches. And that's my thing too. He's like, from there, beautifully preserved Shogi records from the Edo era were stored. Like, here's the thing. Whenever Kyoko's like, well, you're just good at Shogi, I'm like, bitch, because you were such a brat to him and you bullied him and you didn't want anything to do with him, he went off and studied and worked his ass off and got good at it. I'm like, I bet if you weren't just sitting there doing your nails and studied too and got good at it, you might be good at it too if that was so important to you. I'm just like, what the fudge? I feel so bad for Ray. I do. He's like, I would study them day and night. And we see the fruits of his labor and the fruits of all of his efforts. And now his father made him go to this dojo to practice. He's like, all I would do is play and keep playing. And that line where he just keeps saying it over and over again, and we see like the storm pick up around him, and he's like, all I've done my whole life is play shogi because it's the only thing I can do, that I know how to do. And he's like, this is it. And then he gets a text from Riccardi to come over and have hamburger steak, which sounds amazing. And now I'm here right now, and that's how. And that's how I'm here in this moment. I feel for Ray because it's like everything he's done has led him to this point, but so much of it was done to keep himself sane and to fight off like this loneliness that he'd been plagued with his whole life. And it's like, what do you want from him, you know? Oh, makes my heart break for him, honestly. It does, makes my heart break. I'm like, I'm so glad that now Ray is in a place where he has friends and a better support network, where he doesn't always have to play and be isolated. He has other people he can be around. And so I wonder if maybe like with Akari, with her cleaning and managing the bar and taking care of the family, that helps distract her from the grief of losing her mom and grandma. And I wonder if HINA baking kind of does the same for her. So I'm just so sad that she comes in, and when she comes in, and I like the cats have all these long arms, and Ray's like, oh my gosh. And she's like, what's wrong, HINA? And then she shows up at the door, and she has like this random shoe on. It looks like somebody took her shoe. And she's starting to cry, and Ray's like, oh, hell no. And the first word out of her mouth is Ray. Ray and Akari. Oh, no. How dare. How dare! How dare they! Whoever bullied her is going to have to pay. But this was a really good episode. And I don't think I'm going to be able to wait till episode 26. I don't think I'm going to have to wait or be able to. So if I don't get to the comments before I get to episode 26, I'm sorry. But I'm going to want to know. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. I'm excited to hear your comments down below. But I'll be back very soon with more March Comes In Like a Lion. Bye!